My name's Kirsten. I'm 39, and I want to talk about when I realized I had become a loser, which was at 31, and how I have been trying to climb out of that life all of my 30s. I'm going to first rewind back a little bit to my 20s. In fact, I'm going to do a splash earlier than that just to give you some context. My family, they had a lot of love for me and they took good care of me. The thing was, they wanted me to be a version of myself that I felt a lot of resistance towards and a lot of resentment towards, and that caused a lot of friction. It led to what became the fuel in my life, which was escaping. Escape this. I don't like it. The big problem was that I had no ambition. I had no ideas out of what could be, of any sort of fulfilling life outside of my bubble. I had no interest in what my capabilities were. None of that was on my radar. That would have been a great place to channel my energy into building a life that I want, with this resistance I was feeling towards the life they wanted me to be. I could have used that energy intentionally. But instead, I just put it all into escaping. So I got into drugs. I got into alcohol at like 24, and that played a huge role in my life. I don't intend for this to be like a sobriety video, but I will talk about that sometimes because it is part of my story. So, yeah, I got out of master's, and, back then that you would hear a lot of like, when you get out of master's, they're going to hand you a lovely job on a silver platter related to your degree. Well, that didn't happen to me. I tried to get jobs related to my degree, and like every business I went to, they would be like, "Oh, you need experience." And I'm like, "But that's where you come in. I just got the degree, now you come in and provide the experience." And they're like, No, you're going to need to have some experience." And I'm like, "So you would rather have this guy over here who has no degree but has experience." Got it. So I had to take like random jobs in life that had nothing to do with my degree. At 39, I have yet to have any company care about my master's. It has never helped. That's just me. So many people have better stories in that area, better success in that area. That's just not how the cards fell for me. So I ended up taking random jobs, and that just created more bitterness and resentment, which I used to fuel escaping. So, I mean, literally like late in my 20s, I would have people being like friends that I hung out with. I'd be engaging in some conversation with them, and they would be like, "We already had this conversation." And I'm like, "What?" And why I would forget is because I was drinking so much. I would literally not remember full conversations I would have with people. So imagine being someone who not only has no vision for the future, no ambition beyond today, and then you can't even remember anything from your current life. So I was like just a physical body with no beingness. I was building nothing. And then in my late, I was like 29, I'd say at 30, that's when I started to wake up. I don't know how the freaking stars aligned, and I stumbled across some YouTube content that was like spiritual in a way that caught my attention. It was this lady called Pema Chodron. She was a like Buddhist nun. She was an American, She was married, she got divorced, she went and like lived with some Buddhists for like 30 years, came back and was like sharing her teachings. I believe she died in the 80s. But I was like listening to some of her stuff, and it basically woke me up to that I can react differently to circumstances in my life. So I was like, what? It was like, that was like groundbreaking for me. Huh? Because otherwise I had just like accepted what life gave me my entire life, aside from what my parents wanted for me. So I started like changing how I reacted to things and observing how that impacted my life. At the time, I was in a relationship that was not right for me. It wasn't necessarily toxic. It just wasn't aligned for me, and it wasn't the right fit for either of us. But we stayed in it. And so just realizing that you don't need to stay in things that are not right for you was like... So, I mean, it took me building strength over a couple months of absorbing this information before I had the readiness to make a move and leave that relationship. But I did. And however, I wasn't ready to change myself yet. It took me another year to want to change myself. In that next year, I lost a job due to alcoholism, and that led to me realizing I needed to go to rehab, because when I had no money, was about to lose my apartment, I was finding money, borrowing from friends to buy alcohol, and I just think it says so much when you have nothing. What are you choosing with the minuscule little thingies, little resources you have? What are you doing with it? So I was just continuing to destroy myself. So I told my mom, hey, can you watch my dogs? I need to go to rehab. And I remember telling her, like a day before I went in, I was like, do you know that feeling like when you have butterflies for someone and you're like really attracted to them, you're really interested in them? I feel like I'm getting butterflies for myself. Like I feel like there's a me inside of me that's like knocking, and it's like, hey, I'm in here. I've got unique capabilities and interests, and I've been really patient. I've been here the whole time. If you ever want to hang out, we could do amazing things together. So that was the first time I even had an awareness that there was a version of me inside that I could tap into and build a relationship with and start to explore life with. I ended up going to rehab. I kept trying to find a job. No one would hire me. I ended up losing my apartment. I ended up moving back in with parents. So I had no money, no home. No one would hire me. I ended up getting a job at Target as like a regular employee, like the lowest level, with a master's at 31. And that's when you really start to, at that stage, the most important thing is you're practicing being present, okay? The most important thing is, can I even show up for work? Am I capable of that? And then once you're there, can I perform well? Because not even about like addiction, but like whatever habits that have been keeping you stuck and weighing you down and like blinding you, when those are gone and you can all of a sudden like, you have more, what do you call it? Agency in your life, and you can like see clearly, like how are you going to handle that? Because that's a lot of stimulation. So I had to practice showing up. And I ended up working there for like 3 years, and then I was finally ready to like try to level up. I did get a different job after that. Long story short, somebody knew me from Target and like got me this job in this live event production company, and I became a stage technician there after a few months of driving box trucks for them. And I felt really cool there. Felt really like proud of myself, and I was like working with my hands a lot and like lifting heavy things and building stuff. I got a little too confident, a little too cocky, I guess. I ended up tiptoeing back into drinking. So it started with like a social event, and I had just a couple drinks, and then, maybe a week later I did it again. A week later, did it again and again. And about a month in, I bought a bottle of liquor, brought it home, and that was the end of me for 5 months. And then I went to rehab again based on my own choice and admitting to people that I needed to do that. Because I am like creepily good at hiding it, aside from you probably smelling it coming off my body if I'm outside. So I was sober for 10 months. And then I ended up losing that job just a few months, like maybe 8 of those 10 months. Like at the 8-month mark, that's when I lost that job. I ended up then working at the airport. So random. Golly, these jobs. I was a manager of Admiral's Club lounges. I did that for like 2 years. I got into a relationship, and I really liked that person, but we weren't. I said in the beginning I'm sober, and we did that life for like 3 months, but that person had their own, I don't know what you call it, things that they struggle with, and we ended up enabling each other's worst habits. So that was unhealthy. I got into drinking again, if that wasn't clear. And then that relationship, therefore, didn't last past a year. And after that, I continued drinking. Wine, I call that my wine chapter. Wine's not liquor. But the same habits still were in play. Once I start, I don't stop. And it started leading to me having stories again where conversations are happening and I don't remember them. And I was exploding on my friend, like verbally, who was housing me. Because after that relationship, I moved in with a friend, stayed there for like 6 months. And then I was like being mean to her when I would drink. And so I was like, what the heck am I doing? Haven't I learned this lesson multiple times? So I'm sitting here looking in the mirror, holding a glass of wine, and I'm like, so you're destroying the only relationships you have left for this? There's more out there for you. And it's not worth destroying these relationships that have only cared for you. This person literally gave me a roof over my head. So I ended up feeling like I had needed to give that relationship space, that friendship space. So I opted to move out. I asked my grandpa if I could move in. Then I lived with my grandpa. Still no home. Lived with grandpa. He is so kind to give me a home. And I told him a week into living with him that I need to go to rehab again. So that was July 2nd, 2024, that I got sober the 3rd time. And I'm still sober today. So it's been 2 years as of a couple days ago. But I told myself that's the last time. That's the last time. And what is so important, what I've observed is, like, when you remove bad things from your life, it creates space in your life. And it is so important to fill that with positive things that you can build and grow your life from as quickly as possible. Because when that space stays empty, it just puts you at risk of falling backwards in some way. Not to mention, like, why not optimize momentum in a direction towards a fulfilling life? I choose to believe that life can be fulfilling, but I have to make decisions towards that life, or I'll never have it. Life will just keep happening to me. I call it taking the reins of your life. Like a horse, the reins, you control the pace and the direction of the horse. So I have the reins of my life right now, and I'm not going to let them go. So I lived in Dallas, Texas for 34 years, and it was time to go. All the streets, they had bad memories, sad memories, unhealthy memories. It was time to go. So that was part of my agenda. Living with my grandpa was like, I want to go to the beach. So I used to want to live in California since I was like 18, but I'm a girl with no money. Let's be real here. So I'm a girl, like I would have ended up living in a Cracker Jack box over there. So I ended up, long story short, Mom helped me find something on the East Coast. I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. I didn't even know this place existed. Thank you, Mom. And thank you, Destiny, for helping me discover this. You can get so much square footage here for an amazing price. This home behind me, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. From living with my grandpa and having nothing, I had no money to move here. I had to save money for 10 months to make this happen. Not to mention, I guess you could say the one time I have had something handed to me on a silver platter, in other words, a nice, lovely door I wanted to open, like opened for me, was I was able to use this company I'm with, which no longer at the airport. I did that, I think I said it already, like 2 years. Now I've been with the company where we do replenishing vending machines. What? And coffee. We give coffee to businesses. So, like, we got drivers that go and replenish all this stuff, and I'm a manager there. Like, I do the most random jobs. And, but this one, I worked there for 2 years in Dallas, and they made it happen where I was able to transfer over to here. So that took a lot of patience and like showing up, being my best self at work when I had a lot of discouragement going on in my life. It's not a great feeling to be 38, living with your grandpa, having no home, having no money. So this was a great, nice boost in my confidence that I was able to save money. They opened the door. I still had to do the interviews. I still had to be accepted by the Wilmington area folks who interviewed me. So, you know. There's a quote I want to read before I forget. So this is, well, it's not a quote, it's a little excerpt. This is a book called The Complete Works of Frances Scovel Shinn. So this is she's got 4 books in here. So this is The Secret Door to Success. I think she died in like the 1930s or 40s or something. So her stuff like came before Neville Goddard, if you've ever heard his stuff. Anywho. So The Secret Door to Success, this is the chapter, The Watchman at the Gate. We must all have a watchman at the gate of our thoughts. We have the power to choose our thoughts. Since we have lived in the race thought, for thousands of years, it seems almost impossible to control them. They rush through our minds like stampeding cattle or sheep. But a single sheepdog can control the frightened sheep and guide them into the sheep pen. I saw a picture in the newsreels of a shepherd dog controlling the sheep. He had rounded up all but 3. These 3 resisted and resented. They baaed and lifted their front feet in protest, but the dog simply sat down in front and never took his eyes off them. He did not bark or threaten, he just sat and looked his determination. In a little while, the sheep tossed their heads and went into the pen. We can learn to control our thoughts in the same way, by gentle determination, not force. We take an affirmation and repeat it continually while our thoughts are on the rampage. We cannot always control our thoughts, but we can control our words. And repetition impresses the subconscious, and we are then the master of the situation. Your success and happiness in life depend upon the watchman at the gate of your thoughts. For your thoughts, sooner or later, crystallize on the external. People think by running away from a negative situation, they'll be rid of it. But the same situation confronts them wherever they go. They will meet the same experiences until they have learned their lesson. So, obviously, Kirsten kept running into the same experiences until I learned my lesson. I'd be in totally different chapters of my life. It would show up in different ways. Once was me feeling cool and cocky, and I'm 3 years into sobriety, and I got this cool job, blah, blah, blah. It shows up, seemingly innocent. The next time, it's this lovely relationship presented to me, and it's within that. But it's all one lesson. What does this gives me the same results every time. It destroys my life. It derails me from any awareness of what I'm capable of or path I'm on to achieve anything of merit that could bring me fulfillment. It makes me essentially a zombie and like a slave to the addiction, to the suffering. So we all have things that can distract and derail us from our highest potential. And I truly believe that if you practice being present each day, checking in with yourself each day, exploring what makes you curious, removing the things that no longer serve you, which obviously none of this can happen overnight. But it's so important to start with removing what no longer serves you and then putting in being intentional with the space you've created in your life. And it is so encouraging when you start to achieve things. Like, I also, and I'll wrap this up, I also pursued acting, which is something I had zero background in, but when I first got sober, I was like, what do I want to do with my life? I don't freaking know. And I was like, maybe I'll do acting. And, which by the way, I got laughed at by a family member, like, really? Really? And that'll happen to you. You will run into resistance when you're trying to explore who you really are. It's like the great energies know that you're breaking away from slavery to the life that keeps happening to you. And they throw resistance at you. They're like, oh no, we're losing one. So you have to like move forward despite discouragement you may face in circumstances or from people when you're trying to pursue a life that lights you up. So, anywho, I pursued acting. I had no idea. For all I knew, it was just a delusion and I could have sucked at it. And I would have just pivoted from there. Fortunately, I did an independent class. I didn't go to a college for it. And I got really good feedback from the teacher, from I don't know what you call them, classmates. Some classmates who I thought were really good in that class ended up asking me to do events with them, like projects with them, competitions with them outside of the class. This was all while I was in Dallas. And that was over a 2-year span of time, me like getting with this group outside of the class. And I actually won a couple awards in the Dallas competitions. And that was a little, I call it like a God wink or like breadcrumbs. Like it's like, cause you either get some sort of something like that or you don't. It's like the combination of getting those sorts of affirmations as well as, do I even enjoy this? Okay? And then those together, like, formulate a path that you can then move forward on. So I've been moving forward on the acting thing. There is acting in this city. It's one of the top 10 cities in America for aspiring actors. So that's part of why I'm here. And then the YouTube thing, that's been a whole journey in itself, because someone like me who has... It doesn't matter. We're not talking about addiction. Any habit you have that's like holding you back, weighing you down, like you need to find creative, doesn't need to be creative. For me, I like creative, healthy outlets for you to engage in regularly to help you build a relationship with yourself and develop your skills. So YouTube is that for me. It is a healthy outlet for me. Like, why do I do YouTube? It's a healthy outlet for me. And also, I want to emphasize, I'm not somebody preaching from a mountaintop. I don't have it all figured out, if that's not clear. I don't have a bunch of money yet. I don't have savings. I'm like, that's something I'm working on. And I'm still working at a vending job, like a job that has nothing to do with what I want to do. But I'm staying the course. I will not stop putting energy towards this life that I'm building for myself. And I'm going to go ahead. Not only is this a creative outlet, but I can document what I'm doing. And I know there's other people out there like me who are waking up in their late 30s and beyond and who are like, how the heck did I get here? I believe there's more in my life for me. So I'm going to document my journey. And if you watch any of my other videos, just know it might sound like I'm preaching, but I'm literally talking to myself in like most of my videos. Like, the ideas come from stuff I'm struggling with. And I want to help others because I wish I had some of the wisdom I've gained. I wish I had somebody, like back when I was 29 listening to Pema Chodron, I wish I had some of that stuff, access to that wisdom back then, and I could have started taking the reins of my life a lot earlier. Where would I be now, man? But you can't beat yourself up about the past and time lost. You are never too old. It is never too late to find yourself and build a life that brings you fulfillment. I truly believe that. Lastly, I want to say that I titled this video like climbing out of being a loser. I'm not saying that if you were not handed beautiful things on a silver platter that you're a loser. I'm saying what I'm speaking to is how do you react to stuff that life gives you? Like when life is happening to you, how do you react? Because for so many years, I reacted defeated, derailed. I gave up. I had no hope. I threw any of my potential away. I didn't even acknowledge there could possibly be potential in me. So it's all about how are you reacting to what's happening to you. And so yeah, that's ultimately the takeaway, is just being present and living an intentional life and building familiarity with yourself and what you feel called to do. Because I feel like we can all live a life that lights us up. Thank you for your time.